Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the source material, you send us the really interesting stuff, and try to pull out the key insights. Today we're getting into a pretty fascinating reflection, kind of philosophical, but also very personal. It touches on productivity, yeah, but also leisure, societal control, especially now with AI becoming such a big deal. So get ready, maybe challenge some of your own ideas about, why we work like we do, what actually feels fulfilling, and maybe even who's really making the decisions in this tech age.
That's exactly it. Our goal here is to really unpack the most important bits from the material you shared. We want to help you understand not just what this person is saying, but maybe why it resonates and how it fits into, well, the bigger picture of our lives, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to use his unique perspective to look at this apparent contradiction. Technology is booming, but where's all the free time? Let's jump in.
Okay, yeah, let's kick off with that paradox. It's pretty stark. The speaker in your material points out that despite, huge technological leaps in the last 50 years, working hours haven't really budged since the 1980s. So if we're all supposedly more productive, what gives? What does that actually mean?
Well, his take on it is controversial, I guess you could say. He doesn't think it's an accident. He basically argues that society, or maybe more specifically its leadership, chooses not to translate those productivity gains into more leisure time for people, which naturally makes you ask, okay, if it's a choice, then what does he even mean by free time?
Right. And that's where it gets really personal and, frankly, kind of wild. He defines free time as, well, doing stuff he loves, even if it looks exactly like work to anyone else. He actually says he works, what was it, 17 hours a day?
17 hours, yeah.
But he finds it deeply fulfilling because it's all tied into his passions, writing, thinking, creating stuff. Still, 17 hours.
Oh.
Wow, how does he frame that as free time?
It's key to his whole outlook, really. He uses this analogy of painting. For a painter, the real reward isn't necessarily selling the painting or getting famous, right?
Yeah.
It's the act of painting itself, the process. So when he writes his books or makes videos, even if not many people read or watch them, the value for him comes from that process. The personal growth, the clear thinking it brings him. It kind of throws our usual ideas about success, the ones based on audience size or money, completely out the window.
It really does. It flips the script. And this isn't just an intellectual thing for him. He applies this very disciplined, almost stoic approach to his whole day. Stoicism focusing on self-control, what you can manage internally. He sees all that thinking and writing as like mental exercise, a workout for the brain. It's real discipline.
And that discipline is not just mental. It flows right into his physical habits, too. It shows this sort of holistic view he has.
Which leads to this detail that kind of jumped out at me.
Yeah.
He uses an exoskeleton for daily physical exercise.
Yeah, one of those wearable frames.
Right, for resistance walking and running. Makes a simple walk way harder. Apparently, he started small and just gradually increased the distance. And he talks about the health benefits, better endurance, circulation, even handling heat waves better, which is pretty relevant these days.
And zooming out a bit, his point isn't just about exoskeletons, obviously. He advocates for everyone to do some daily exercise, even just 10 minutes. He sees it as crucial for long-term health, sure, but also for building that discipline muscle. It's all connected: mind, body, purpose. Self-mastery.
That idea of self-mastery and maybe not getting caught up in external appearances, it links directly to his views on money and wealth. He's got this pretty sharp critique of modern wealth. He observes that you see people with, the fancy cars, Porsches, Ferraris, and huge houses, but often they're actually house poor. They look rich, but they're stretched thin, cash-wise.
Overextended.
Yeah. He argues that even high earners fall into this trap of spending on luxuries they don't really need, which leaves them surprisingly vulnerable financially.
And that makes you question the whole link between wealth and freedom, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If having a lot of money doesn't automatically equal security or real freedom, then what does? It pushes us, and you listening, to maybe rethink what prosperity actually looks like.
Definitely. And sticking with that theme of control or maybe lack of freedom, his take on the future of work and AI is, well, it's pretty provocative. He predicts that humans are going to be increasingly micromanaged. And his comparison is stark. He compares it to how we manage domesticated animals.
Oof, yeah, that's a strong image. But here's the crucial part of his argument. He doesn't blame the AI itself. He's very clear AI is just a technology, a tool. The real issue, in his view, are the people using the tool. He points the finger at elected leaders suggesting they'll use AI to further their own agendas for control.
Mm.
It's less about economic efficiency, maybe, and more about power. That desire for control being the real motivator, not just money.
And he seems genuinely frustrated that so many analysts and writers focus on the technology, on the AI, and they miss what he considers the real source of the control, the political leadership behind it. He calls them the enemy, essentially. That's a point you might want to chew on.
Yeah, it's a challenging perspective. And it ties into his own personal stance, too. He seems completely indifferent to external validation. Like, he doesn't care if his work gets public recognition. He says he deliberately avoids reading online comments so he doesn't get sidetracked by negativity or praise, even. He sort of accepts that, well, most people are more comfortable just going along with the existing systems rather than questioning the fundamental way things are run.
So if he's that independent, doesn't care about approval,
Hmm.
how does that shape what he actually creates, his books, for instance?
Well, they become more than just writing for him. They're almost an act of defiance, you could say. He uses his books to tackle these very themes head on. Control. Who's really in charge? The thing society doesn't want to look at. It doesn't matter if they sell well or not.
He even gives a specific financial example you pointed out in the material. Publishing professionally is expensive. He mentions editing costs potentially reaching like 50,000 euro, but he keeps writing anyway. It just hammers home that commitment, doesn't it? It's about his purpose, not about becoming popular or rich from it.
Absolutely. So if we were to quickly sum up the core threads we pulled from the material you sent, we've got his unique take on meaningful work, defining it yourself. There's the Stoic discipline, both mental and physical, a really sharp critique of superficial wealth and success. Then there's his deep skepticism about political power and how it might misuse tools like AI. And finally, this relentless focus on personal purpose above everything else.
It definitely leaves you with a lot to think about. What really stands out to you listening? For us, it certainly makes you reflect on your own relationship with work, with freedom, with the way society is set up.
Hmm. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. If he's right, if real freedom isn't about avoiding work, but about consciously choosing work that aligns with your core values,
Hmm.
and maybe actively resisting some of that external control,
Mm.
what does that imply for how you define success in your own life? What does that actually look like day to day?
That is a great question. Lots to consider there. Thank you again for sharing these really thought-provoking sources for today's deep dive.